Hi and welcome to this week's Be Kind Revolution Sunday Share. This week the topic is going to be rumination. So ruminating for me is where I take a situation of the past, probably a conversation or an argument, and I ruminate over it. I dwell on what happened on that particular situation. The problem I find for me personally is that I really take conversations to the nth degree. I think about arguments and counter-arguments and I let that conversation kind of rise up within me, and it really affects everything. And rumination can have kind of one or two outcomes, I find. One, I could resolve the argument in my own mind and then move on, but I'll be honest, that very rarely happens for me. What normally happens for me is that I end up building resentments and pain. And these are arguments of the past, so there's nothing I can do about it. There's no value in me continuing the argument. The only person suffering is me, because the person at the other side of the conversation is absolutely oblivious to what's going on. I also find that while it may not be called rumination, I always find that I have a similar experience with the future as well. So if there's a situation that's going to happen, I may build up arguments in preparation for that situation. And what I find is the future is very fickle. It very rarely works out the way I anticipate it, and it absolutely shouldn't as well. You know, people are their own thing, they're their own entity. They're not preparing in the same way. I mean, some people may be, but most of the time when I have an expectation of what's going to happen, I very rarely ever get it right. And when I expect a bad outcome, it turns out to be good. When I expect a good outcome, it turns out to be bad. So the problem, I think for me personally, and this is the reason for me sharing this, is that I dwell upon conversations which either haven't happened or in the past. Both ways, there is no preparation for a lot of these things. And I find, a bit like last week when I talked about how important is it, I find the only thing it does is it robs my peace of mind. So what I do for me personally is if I find myself in that position where I'm dwelling on an argument and thinking about what I should have said or what I could have said, and I can feel it building up, I always try and stop for a few minutes, just take a few deep breaths, if I can put some music on, and try and think, where am I going with this? And what value is there to this? Especially if I'm dwelling on an argument that I have no ability to change because it's already happened. What is it I'm trying to get? And I usually find it's nothing more. It's just my mind trying to maybe occupy itself. Maybe there's fear there. Maybe there's things going on that I should probably more tackle than the conversation that I can't do anything about. Taking a few deep breaths and taking some time allows us to just exhale those things. For me personally, sharing these videos is a great way for me to stop for a second and think, maybe I need to tackle the root cause and not the argument. It very rarely is the actual conversation itself. It's usually something that's happened beforehand or something that I'm afraid of. So that's my experience of rumination. I openly encourage people to feed back on this. It'd be great. I think one of the things I wanted to do with these shares is if somebody hears this story and thinks that's absolutely me, that they can also share their own feedback. How do they deal with rumination? How do they stop their brain from sabotaging itself? And the more people comment and the more people associate themselves with that particular comment, I think it's better for them. It's good therapy. It's a great experience, and sometimes it's nice to know you're not alone. There's a YouTube video which I will post from Mel Robbins, and she says that the odds of us being born, to the parents we're born to the situation, to our DNA, everything, is 1 in 400 trillion. I think for me it's nice that when I hear a story similar to mine, I think I'm not alone, that it is somebody who's experiencing it, and then together, a few of us can all move forward. So thanks very much for watching. If anyone would like to share their own experience, their own story, if you can message me, I'm more than happy to make you a contributor to the site. You can post your own video, and again, it could help somebody else with their journey. So please join the revolution, and the most important thing is to be kind. Thanks very much.